You see on Twitter, like everybody's talking about, Israel, and like it seems like there's waning support in America. Politicians have no clue how to communicate, most of them, and they're just like, well, this is our closest ally. And then you get asked why, and they go, oh,
closest ally in the Middle East.
Regardless of what it is. It's like, I think
that's very important. They're the closest ally in the Middle East because they're the only country in the entire Middle East that anyone in this country, these hypocrites, would even survive for a week in. You wouldn't want to live.
I don't know if that's true anymore. Like the UAE, I've been to Abu Dhabi.
The UAE is not the Muslim world. If you're talking about
But they're
Dubai,
in the Middle East. That's what you're talking about.
Okay, but you're talking about a tiny, tiny percentage. Again, but it's a disingenuous argument.
Why is it disingenuous?
Because I just told you.
You said you can't live there, and I was like, here's another place.
Because it's not typical.
I could live in any single one of them.
You're in Kabul, your wife would have to wear a head-to-toe burqa every...
That's on her.
Okay.
You're talking about me surviving. You're like, I could live very comfortably in every single country. Like, again, let's not move the goalposts. You're asking if I could live comfortably.
You could live with yourself knowing that that's how women are treated in your world.
I hate this moral argument. Like, we give about women around the world. Like, no, but this is like...
Yeah, you said you'd be happy.
This is such a bullshit argument.
This is such a bullshit argument.
No, I didn't say happy. I said I could live. You keep moving the goalposts.
Okay.
Welcome back to Clear Record. Today, we're breaking down one of the most talked about podcast moments of the year. Andrew Schulz sat down on Bill Maher's Club Random, and what started as a casual conversation quickly turned into a full-on ideological collision. Maher came in with his usual confident political framing, and Schulz was not having it. It started with a deceptively simple question: why does America support Israel so strongly? Maher reached for what he clearly considered a rock-solid answer. Israel is the only country in the entire Middle East where an American could realistically survive for even a week. It's a line he's used before. It sounds bold. It sounds definitive. But Schulz stopped him right there. He pointed to Dubai, the UAE, places he had personally visited, places that are geographically and factually in the Middle East and where an American could live comfortably. Watch what happens next, because this is where it gets interesting. Rather than engaging with the counterexample, Maher immediately tries to disqualify it, arguing that Dubai doesn't count because it's just a small enclave carved out for wealthy Westerners, not representative of the broader Muslim world. Now, Maher's point about typicality isn't without logic, but the problem is he had just made a sweeping claim about the entire Middle East. The moment a clear exception exists, that claim no longer holds. Schulz had handed him a factual counterexample, and instead of adjusting his argument, Maher tried to move the goalposts. That's the moment the debate shifted, and both of them knew it.
This is the thing, we have to this is where it gets frustrating, these arguments, is like, if we know we're hypocrites, we can't cry about it. We have to meet people where they are.
Correct.
Right? So like, I mean, I'm sure you've seen on Twitter, like everybody's talking about, Israel, and like it seems like there's waning support in America for Israel.
Oh, absolutely.
So here's an example which you hear people say all the time. Like obviously the politicians have no clue how to communicate, most of them, and they're just like, well, this is our closest ally. And then you get asked why, and they go, oh, they don't know, because they're just being told that they're the closest ally.
Well, closest ally in the Middle East.
Regardless of what it is. It's like, I think
that's very important. They're the closest ally in the Middle East because they're the only country in the entire Middle East that anyone in this country, these fucking hypocrites, would even survive for a week in. You wouldn't want to live.
I don't know if that's true anymore. Like the UAE, I've been to Abu Dhabi.
The UAE is not the Muslim world. If you're talking about
But they're
Dubai,
in the Middle East. That's what you're talking about.
Okay, but you're talking about a tiny, tiny percentage of what typical life is like in 60 Muslim countries. You're talking about a little enclave that they carved out so Westerners could come and spend their money.
Right.
We're talking about far less than 1% of the way life is like. You would not want to live even in a moderate country like Jordan, and your wife certainly wouldn't enjoy living there.
Yeah.
Okay?
You're making logical points.
Well, these are factual points.
Yeah, sure, they're factual.
They are.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. It's like, I gave you another option that is true.
Well, but it's
I think, matter of fact, I would even argue that life is more relatable to the average American in the UAE or in Dubai than it is in...
Again, but it's a disingenuous argument.
Why is it disingenuous?
Because I just told you.
You said you can't live there, and I was like, here's another place.
Because it's not typical. I said the entire Middle East. So if I, okay, so look, here,
okay.
Here's the thing. Here,
all right.
If I say, you have to move somewhere in America, and I'm going to throw a dart at a map with a blindfold on, and could you survive anywhere else in America where that dart? You absolutely could. You could live in Salt Lake City. You could live anywhere in America. If I throw a dart at a map of the entire, all 60 Muslim majority countries, will you say you'll live there?
I could survive in every single one of them.
You couldn't.
How no?
What?
How could I not? I'm not a gay guy. Like I'm not, I could live in any single one of them.
In Kabul, your wife would have to wear a head-to-toe burqa every...
That's on her.
Okay.
So you're talking about me surviving. You're like, I could live very comfortably in every single country. Like, again, let's not move the goalposts. You're asking if I could live comfortably.
You could live with yourself knowing that that's how women are treated in your world.
I hate this moral argument. Like, we give a fuck about women around the world. Like, no, but this is like...
Yeah, you said you'd be happy.
This is such a bullshit argument.
This is such a bullshit argument.
No, I didn't say happy. I said I could live.
Things escalated fast from there. Maher pushed back harder, essentially trying to corner Schulz with a gotcha, asking point blank whether Schulz could actually survive living in Kabul, Afghanistan. It was meant to be the kill shot that ended the argument. Schulz didn't flinch. He said yes. Outside of active conflict, in peacetime, he could spend a month in Kabul without a problem. Not thriving, not performing stand-up every night, but getting by. Living. That's when Maher dropped the pretense of debate entirely. He told Schulz, directly and coldly, that his position was either a joke or just plain stupid. Those were the two options Maher offered. And that's where Schulz turned the whole thing around. He didn't get defensive. He got precise. He called out exactly what Maher was doing and connected it to something much bigger than this one conversation. He argued that this reflex, the instinct to label people who disagree with you as dumb rather than engaging with what they're actually saying, is one of the core reasons working-class voters feel abandoned by the political left and end up voting for candidates like Donald Trump. It wasn't a random dig. It was a direct line from Maher's behavior in that moment to a decade of electoral outcomes. What made it land so hard is that Schulz wasn't just criticizing Maher the person. He was describing a pattern, the Ivy League insider culture that assumes it knows better, talks down to anyone who questions it, and then acts baffled when those same people walk into a voting booth and reject everything it stands for. Maher, to his credit, partially acknowledged the point. But by then, the dynamic in the room had already shifted.
I'm sorry.
Let's stay on what you say. I could live easily in every single one of the countries outside of the wars that are existing. But you're saying in peacetime?
Easily?
Easily. You live easily.
You could easily live in Kabul, Afghanistan.
Is there war happening? Is the Taliban doing their thing?
No war. No war. So war's over.
War's over? I could kick it in Kabul for a month easy. Enjoying life. Now, am I doing stand-up every night? No. But could I take a little vacation?
I don't know if you're kidding with me.
I'm just telling you, I think that...
I'll give you two options. Either you're kidding or this is stupid.
Well, that's this pretentious ass shit.
It's not pretentious.
You're doing the thing that
it's not pretentious.
You are doing the
that
thing...
you could live in Kabul and be happy or get by, or you could be no big deal.
You're doing this thing that gets...
It's not virtue signaling to say...
I didn't say virtue signaling. But that is, if you don't agree with me, you're dumb, is why Trump is elected. And this is what Democrats do.
Yeah, but sometimes dumb is dumb.
Yeah, but people are dumb. So deal with that shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, stop acting like everybody's smart. Like, this is the problem, is like, you have all these people that go to Ivy League schools, and they're like, we know better than everybody else, and we'll just tell you what to do, and you guys are all stupid, and I know you feel like you want this, but you don't really want this, and if you disagree with me, you're an idiot. And then all of a sudden they go, you know what? Fuck you guys. I'm voting for that one. It's very simple.
Yeah, that's true too.
So we can't speak down to people if we know that they're going to react emotionally. I guess what I'm trying to say is, even with the like, for example, the Israel conversation, right? So if I know people are reacting emotionally to this, right? Who is the burden on, if we have this deep connection with Israel, which I believe we do, right? I think the burden is on Israel to prove to the American people, who definitely they rely on for support in this conflict, I think that the burden is on them to communicate to the American people why it's advantageous to America to continue to support them. Like, and if they can't communicate a reason, you can't be upset at the American people for being confused about it. We have that same energy towards Ukraine. We go, wait a minute, they're getting how many $1 billion? Okay, over here, if eggs were cheap, I don't care about where you throw the money. But once eggs get expensive, I start going, where's the money going? $200 million going over there? So when economic times are very difficult here in America or any country in the world, there's going to be some questions asked about where this money is going.
As there should be.
As they should be. I think it's a very normal thing. And unfortunately for Jews, when economic times turn shitty in countries, people start looking and they go, I think it might be their fault.
But why is that throughout history?
Because there's an ambient energy towards Jews. This is just my opinion, but there's ambient energy towards Jews.
The conversation then moved into what was arguably its most grounded and consequential moment. Schulz pulled the debate away from geopolitical theory entirely and brought it straight to the kitchen table. His argument was straightforward. If Israel, or any foreign government, expects billions of dollars in American taxpayer support, then the burden of proof falls on them to clearly explain to ordinary Americans why that investment makes sense for their lives. Not for think tanks, not for foreign policy analysts, for regular people. And then he said something that cut right through the abstraction. He brought up the price of eggs. His point was simple. When people are struggling to afford basic groceries, they're going to start asking hard questions about where their tax dollars are going. That's not stupidity. That's not ignorance. That is a completely rational response to financial pressure. He made the same observation about Ukraine aid, noting that public support for foreign spending doesn't exist in a vacuum. It depends heavily on what's happening at home. He went further, arguing that politicians and commentators who dismiss those questions or mock the people asking them are making a serious mistake. You cannot call people irresponsible for prioritizing their own economic survival and then expect their loyalty. It was the kind of argument that's hard to counter not because it's radical, but because it's fair. And that's exactly what makes it stick. Maher, who built his entire brand on being the sharpest person in the room, found himself without a clean response. Not because he was silenced, but because the argument was built on something he couldn't easily dismiss: the lived reality of people outside his world. That's what we do here at Clear Record. We watch the whole thing, lay out exactly what was said, and let you decide. Drop your take in the comments. Do you think Schulz made the stronger case, or did Maher have points that didn't get a fair hearing? We read every comment. See you in the next one.